Welcome to the Milt Talk Legacy Builders podcast, a place where Milts can connect to one another to inspire, motivate, and collaborate to continue to build a strong and well-connected alumni association. I believe that Milton Hershey School rebranding is actually just getting started, and I want to be part of that journey. I think the best way to commemorate Milton and Catherine Hershey is to continue our own legacy that impacts the world as Milton Hershey so impacted us. I believe the level of extraordinary that each and every Milt carries within them is deeply underestimated, and this podcast will help in the journey to show off what Milts are really made of. I'm excited to get to know more Milts, more insight to their upbringing, and what they're doing now to build their legacy and bring value to others, and what being a Milt really means to them. Today I'm talking with Abbey Johnson, class of 2006. Founder of Live Without Apologies, LLC. Abbey is a child of God, a daughter, a sister, a friend, Naija, a mental health advocate, a passionate public servant, and so much more. She created LWA to inspire everyone to live life unapologetically and on your own terms, without judgment or validation from others. She has had the idea for Live Without Apologies for 5 years now. However, perfection paralysis prevented her from acting on it. Everything changed, however, in October of 2020. She quit her dream job after battling depression, anxiety, and feeling a loss in her sense of identity. Abbey realized she was operating from a warped definition of success, a constant state of seeking validation, making decisions based on what she perceived others wanted her to do. Quitting was her freedom. When she quit, she was ashamed and felt guilty, but gave herself grace to step into the uncertainty of not knowing what would come next. She was unemployed for 4 months, but that period of stillness, reflection, and listening to God allowed her to rest, recenter, and rediscover her own voice, passions, and aspirations. With that said, Live Without Apologies was birthed. So welcome to the Milt Talk Legacy Builders podcast. I'm so excited to have you as my guest, Abbey.
Thank you. And thank you for that introduction. I'm like over here, beaming. First of all, I love your intro about what you believe Milts bring in terms of building our legacy. But thank you for making me sound great.
No, you
I appreciate
that. Absolutely. I was blown away just listening to it and hearing it when you sent it over. It literally gave me chills. It inspired me because I'm super excited to get to know your story. I don't think enough people talk about mental health and living on your own terms. So to hear your story and see you living out that journey is awesome. I'm excited to hear more about it. I want to start with how old were you when you first got to MHS?
Yeah, so I guess I'm one of the people that they consider a lifer.
Okay.
I came to MHS when I was 6 years old, and I was in like the older where transitional living is right now. I was in student home Fulton.
Okay.
So one of the older ones that was just redesigned to transitional living.
Okay.
And it was an experience. I don't think I really knew what I was getting into. I was just a naive child. Yeah. I remember, waking up the first day. My first chore was cleaning sweeping the stairs. And I was like, where's my mom? Yeah. Well, at first it's like a lot of commotion. Yeah. They're like distracting you to get you settled. And then the next day, like reality hits. I remember crying. I remember my first meal was like Cocoa Puffs. Yeah. But I was comforted by, the girls in my student home and my house parents. So I remember vividly, August 4th, 1994.
Wow. Good memory there. And that is such a young, delicate age to experience such a change and culture shock.
Right.
Yeah. Where were you born?
I was born in New Jersey. So I'm from New Jersey. I was born in Princeton, if you want to get specific. That's what's listed on my birth certificate. But when I went to Milton Hershey, I lived in Trenton, New Jersey. And then my family later moved to Willingboro. And that's where my mom and my sister are right now.
Okay. You only have one other sister?
No. So I come from a large Nigerian family. I have 8 siblings, but I mostly grew up with 3 sisters on my mom's side, and I was the first. So 3 of us actually ended up going to Milt Hershey.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to Milt Hershey first, though. I went in 1994, and then 2 of my sisters, my oldest sister Jen and my youngest sister Steph, they joined me 8 years later. So it wasn't until I was in 8th grade that the school finally accepted Jen and Steph. And my mom had been trying to get my other sister, Monica, into the school the entire time as well. But for some reason, they never accepted her. And we were all like confused because typically they like to keep families together.
Right.
So that was hard.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I think Monica and I relate to each other a lot because we both experienced being separated from, family. I, like, on the front end, being separated from my sisters and my mom. And then she on the back end when everyone left and came to Milt Hershey.
Oh, so how old what was the difference in age between you and your sisters?
Yeah, what I love about my sisters is that we're all super close in age. Okay. My older sister, her and I are Irish twins. Okay. We are 11 months apart. So it's fun because we are the same age for 1 week, and I get to like make fun of her, like, you're not really older than me. We're the same age. She actually just celebrated a birthday and she has a lot going on. Mm-hmm. My 2 younger sisters, there's a 3-year gap between me and Monica. And then Monica and Steph are also a year apart. Wow. So yeah, we're like 30. How old am I now? Jen is 34 and then Steph is 29. Okay. So we're all like, it's like we're best friends, but we're also sisters.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it's nice to have that connection with your siblings. Yeah, we have a big family too. My family is a family of 7, and 4 of us went to Milt Hershey, and then my 2 older sisters, they wouldn't accept them because they were already in like 9th grade. And I think at that time, like, I got there in 96, and I was 10. So my sisters by then were already like freshmen and sophomores. So they wouldn't accept them at that time. Yeah. Yep. But then me and my other sister, we were in the same grade. We came in together, and my 2 brothers came in together like a year before us.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So they told us a little bit about it, but when we got there, it was complete culture shock too. I cried for weeks and weeks and weeks. It was a crazy culture shock experience. I can't even, and I was 10. I can't even imagine at 6 to experience something like that alone too. I had my sister with me, so to experience it alone, but it speaks to, like you said, the comfort that you got from the other girls in the student home. It speaks to that MHS connection. Why Milts are really so close is because of that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. And I never really felt, the first day, I felt like, oh, what am I doing here? But I never really felt alone because of that connection. And I'm very close to at least 2 people that were in like my student home in Fulton, like when I was 6 years old.
How crazy.
Yeah. And it's just crazy how like life goes in like a circle. One of the Crystal Polite is like someone I consider my best friend, and we came in together. We were both 6. And then Taya Green, what was Taya's class? 03. We were both in Fulton together. Yeah. And then later on in life, we both ended up in Richmond, Virginia together.
How cool.
And now we're like both back in the DMV together. Yeah. So it's just been like a nice, full circle experience. And I consider her a big sister still.
That's great. I know her. Yeah. She was always a great person. She always had such a great smile. She always liked to laugh. I remember that. So when you graduated, did you end up going to college?
I did. Okay. I went to Georgetown in DC, and it's funny because it was like a Milt like oasis. I ran track. So I didn't go on a track, and I like to emphasize that I did not go on a track scholarship. Like, I got there on my own merit academically, but I ran track. Yeah. I followed my older sister, Jen, went to Georgetown. So I was like, okay, I already have the social circle there. And then literally Georgetown was just recruiting the track team at MHS. Candace Ferguson went there, Ashley Mundy, John Ocon, were all there ahead of me. And I was like, oh, my team is here. Like, I'm going to be comfortable here. have my team, I have my sister, and then one of my other best friends from Milton Hershey, Caitlin, in my class also went to Georgetown. So it was just like, you know, some like a safe space for me and a great, you know, a great education, but also the social support to go to school.
So important. Yeah, that's super important because I think a lot of Milts, you know, who graduated and then went off on their own there was a lot of tough stuff that we had to deal with in the real world that we weren't, you know, very well prepared for. So to be able to have like fellow Milts that still understand you, to have in that circle is so important. Yeah, I too went to college and had like 4 or 5 Milts still around, which was really great. Yeah. So what did you study?
So I studied human science. Everyone's like, what is that? It's like the bridge between, I was originally pre-med.
Okay.
And then I started taking like hard science classes and I was like, what am I doing? You know, like, nope, not pre-med. So human science was a nice bridge for me. It was like, you know, the bridge between health science and public health. So that's my introduction to public health. So I studied human science. I got really interested in public health. Like in my senior year, I remember there was some sort of outbreak on campus and we had to like write a report about it. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. You know, I can make a career out of this. And then that summer I had volunteered at the local health department back home in Jersey because that was like the summer 2009 of H1N1.
Yeah.
The H1N1 epidemic or outbreak. So I was like, you know, working with epidemiologists and I was like, this is fascinating. I felt like epidemiologists, like the nickname for them are disease detectives. And most people, when they think of public health, that's what they think of, like, especially now with COVID, right? It's like, you know, public health experts are figuring out what is going on, you know, how many people are affected, how, you know, what are the solutions that we can take to mitigate, you know, the problem. So that drew me into public health.
And then from there, so you volunteered there and then you finished out college. What was the next steps for you?
Yeah, the next steps, I was so fascinated by public health. I was like, I'm going to grad school. So I went to the University of Pittsburgh, their graduate program. Actually, another thing that motivated me was my younger sister, Monica, the one who did not go to MHS, because Monica is a proud teen mom. You know, she wears that badge, you know, honorably, and she is an excellent mother, and she's like doing phenomenal, like now to this day. But I was like, you know, how could that have been? Not that it's, you know, I think everything happens in its own time. But I was very passionate about sexual health back then. And I was like, I want to study sexual health. I want to help teen mothers. You know, I want to figure out how we can provide resources to young girls and young boys so that, you know, they can postpone having children until they're a little bit more stable in life. And what does that look like? You know, what are the social constructs that we need to provide for them? So that was what I studied in my grad program, like what my focus was in my grad program, but it was public health. And my concentration was behavioral and community health sciences.
Wow. That is awesome. And then, so you got into your master's. Were you working at that time or were you still volunteering?
I was working as a research assistant with Dr. Akers at like the McGee Women's Hospital there. We were working on a teen teen pregnancy study, helping parents communicate to their children about sex. Because I think that's another issue that needs to be addressed. I come from a family, you know, the Nigerian heritage. I don't know if it's, I don't want to, you know, make a blanket statement, but like my mom didn't talk to me about sex. She was just like, I remember learning about it at MHS, you know how they separate us. I remember learning about it in 5th grade. And I remember talking to my mom like, oh, I learned about, you know, sex today. And she was like, oh, good. I was like, okay. She just says like, be careful. We know what that means, you know. It's not a comfortable topic for her. So it was fun to to study that or to work on that as a research assistant.
Yeah. And that is such a good niche topic, especially for younger kids. Cause I think a lot of us, because of our cultural upbringing or our cultural background, like for us Middle Easterners, sex was like taboo practically. Like it was dirty pretty much.
Right.
Like you don't do it, you don't talk about it, we don't mention it, until you're married. And then even then we don't talk about it,
Right.
But it's not, it's natural, it's a beautiful thing. And in order to utilize it in a proper way, you need to learn your self-worth first. And
right.
And then it does become a beautiful thing instead of an ugly, secretive type of thing. Yeah. So important. Yeah. Especially for young girls and boys to learn it on that level, to not be ashamed of it. I think there's so much shame around it.
Right.
Yeah.
So many correlations with mental health, but we'll get there.
Yeah. And I can't wait. So keep going. Yeah. Just take me through the journey. What was after that?
Yeah. So after that, let's see, I finished grad school and then I applied. I had done like a summer internship at CDC, the Centers for Disease Control.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I went to Atlanta for a summer and I fell in love. Like CDC is the premier public health organization. Yes. Everyone knows who the CDC is now. Like I don't even have to, describe what the agency does. Although I do have to describe what the agency does. I'm like, they are not only an infectious disease agency, because I didn't work in infectious disease. Initially, when I went to CDC, I started as a fellow. It was called the Public Health Prevention Service Fellowship. And they were training us to be like program managers in a public health institution. So we did like 1 year of training at CDC, and then I was assigned to the Richmond City Health District in Richmond, Virginia, and I managed the chronic disease program there.
Wow.
So I worked on everything from like heart disease, obesity, nutrition, physical activity.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Like that's everything I studied was like community health. And I had real world experience working with the community focused on underserved, minority populations, working across sectors, working in schools, working with city council, working, with other nonprofits, working with the private industry, working with the hospitals. And then when my fellowship was ending, I had to make a decision. Do I stay in Richmond or do I go back to CDC headquarters in Atlanta?
Yeah. And
I really wanted to stay in Richmond, but just, the pay, I had to be realistic too. But my boss didn't have a job for me yet. He was like, I will make one for you. But like just the bureaucratic process of creating a job versus I already had an offer at CDC.
Yeah.
So I went back to CDC in Atlanta and I was a policy analyst for like the National Center for Chronic Disease Prevention and Health Promotion. So still working in chronic disease as a policy analyst. I worked there for 3 years. And then I made the switch to the opioid response coordinating unit at like the height of the opioid epidemic. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. Not that is awesome. That's like an inside joke we have at CDC whenever there's a crisis. We're like, yes, because we care so much about public health. Like I've worked on the Ebola crisis. I've worked like on Zika. And then when I had the opportunity to work in opioids, I was like, yes, because I have such a personal connection to it, not, from loved ones, but also because I recognize, similar to like, what we just said about sex and what I said about mental health, all of those things are correlated. And a lot of what people don't understand is what drives the health issue is not an individual decision. There are social, structural, and economic, considerations that people need to address to really attack any health issue. You can tie any health issue to a social, structural, and economic, cause.
Absolutely.
And it's addressing all of those things together is where you really make the dent and the impact.
Yes. So good. I I did a research study in one of my masters on food deserts, and
Yes.
it's a lot. It's so, and it made me so sad as I was doing
Right.
all of the research, because I, for one, obviously we went to Milton Hershey because we came from poverty. So it made me think about how my upbringing was. And then to see how it's almost like by design that,
Say
these,
it again, Zahraa.
yeah, it's crazy that these food deserts are specifically designed and created to be in areas of severe poverty. And like you said, that's where obesity comes, heart disease. All they have is the convenience store that has nothing but juice and processed food and chips and nothing fresh and healthy. Everything just completely processed, cheap.
So sorry to interrupt you. That was one of the things I did in Richmond. It was called the Healthy Corner Store Initiative. And it's like a national movement. I think now they're expanding it to just get grocery stores to the, to communities that need them. But in the absence of a grocery store, because it takes a lot to move a grocery store into a community, we were just meeting the people where they are. We partnered with local farms and we partnered with corner store owners, and we were like, what fresh produce can we get into your store? We will give you the grant money for a refrigerator. We'll teach you how to maintain it. We will survey the residents to find out what they actually want to buy, so that the food is not just sitting there. You're going to make a profit from this. And then we'll have a block party when you open, so that you get, interest. But to go back to your point about like, the communities are designed like this. That is so true. And that goes back to structural racism and redlining. And, people now not seeing it. Like, I feel like now there's gentrification, we can talk about white flight, and now white people coming back, like, and changing the communities, and then now also pushing us out. There's so much to dissect there. That's my passion for health equity and social justice. But I think that one of the things that Milton Hershey like instilled in me, if there was such a thing as a thriving community, right? If you look at the social determinants of health and all of the things that impact health, it's education. We got a phenomenal education. It's family. We had, family modeled for us, a healthy family. What does a healthy family look like? Modeled for us. It is, well, the one thing, let me not get to, I'll get to that one. It is, economic development. Milton Hershey's campus is absolutely beautiful.
Gorgeous.
We could walk anywhere, and that also green space, like
it's clean.
All of that helps. It's the criminal justice system. It is, it's so much more, all of it intertwined to create a thriving community. I won't pretend like Milton Hershey was all roses, because we know the stories, and we know the people who try to use those stories to attack the school. But if we look at the grand scheme of things, we had so much given to us. And I always highlight, like, showcase Milton Hershey as like the ideal for what a thriving community looks like.
Resources.
So all of the resources.
Good resources. That's so good. Wow. And the amount of like education and experience that you've been acquiring in these areas is unbelievable. Like you were very lucky to be in those positions, to be able to first see that on that level, because I think across the board, and this is like no more excuse, across the board, ignorance, people don't even know till this day what a how to then fix it. And that's been an okay excuse for a while now, but now that can no longer be an excuse, because we have resources at our fingertips to be able to Google something, or to be able to know, oh, there's no grocery store anywhere in this vicinity, So you've been able to get in that position to first be able to see it, understand it, on a grand scale too. And then now your passion is taking you to the point of like, okay, now we need to get this out there. We need to teach other people about this who are not in these positions to know, to be able to now do something about these communities. Yeah.
Right. Well, this is what I call like the silver lining of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I feel like the pandemic put us all on our knees, and it really like humbled us. I say us as a society collectively, because we were all experiencing the same thing. Like there was a shortage of food, you know, a lot of people were losing their jobs. You know, you have loved ones and family members falling sick. And now you know what it means to not have access to food. Now you know what it looked like. You know, I never want to put that on anyone, but now people who never understood what poverty looks like know what poverty looks like.
Yes.
Even if it was just for a second. Right. Yeah. Right. So they can empathize with it a little bit more. And I think coming out of like everyone is talking about, at least in the public health field, like how do we come out of the COVID, you know, what is the COVID response? How do we come out of this? Well, there's a lot of lessons to be learned. Yeah. And there's a lot that we can do. And food insecurity is one of those things that is being highlighted as an area that needs to be addressed, as well as housing insecurity, as well as, you know, the job rate, creating jobs for people. Yeah. There's so many things. Mental health, I'll put that out there. Yeah. Mental health as well, that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. So after that, so you went back to Atlanta, and you had your policy analyst position there. And then from where, what did you decide?
Yeah, so I had the policy analyst position, then I had the opioids position. Then I had the opportunity to go to DC for a summer to work on the Hill. So I went to DC and I was serving as a congressional liaison back to CDC headquarters in Atlanta. So I was supporting the National Injury Center, and I was working on topics like liaising with members of Congress and their staff on topics like violence prevention, suicide, opioids, adverse childhood experiences. I loved that experience. It was like very fast paced, you know, things moving very quickly, but just getting to see from a national perspective, what types of legislation, you know, where's the government's priority? You know, in all of those topic areas. And how can CDC, right, serve as a partnering body? So a lot of the legislation I was reviewing is like, you know, we want CDC, Congress saying we want CDC to do this, to implement this initiative. Can CDC do it? What resources does CDC need to make this happen? So we were, you know, the negotiating, like in between, helping to like draft that legislation. Well, not draft, but provide technical assistance is what we call it. And yeah, so it was eye-opening to see from that perspective. But at the same time, I was getting homesick. You know, I had been trying to get back up to like the DMV/Jersey area for probably since I went back to headquarters in Atlanta. So being in DC for the summer, reconnecting with some of my best friends from the Milt, and also being closer to my family, I was like, I need to just find a job here, you know? And I started to get frustrated because I was working at that time under the previous administration. And the things that we as an agency knew we should and could do, we were kind of like silenced. So for me, I was like, this is crazy. Like, we know what we need to do to impact health. We know what we need to do to influence health. And you know, the administration is preventing us from doing what we need to do. So I was like, I'm going to leave CDC. I'm going to apply to, you know, philanthropy. I was very like interested in philanthropy and like health systems. And everyone's like, what? You're leaving CDC? Because, you know, when you have a government job, everyone's like, that is security. Why would you ever leave CDC? But I had the opportunity to join a philanthropy that was very focused on all of the things that I get excited about: health equity, social justice, like centering the vulnerable community.
Yeah.
And it was more of a leadership position. And like just the sky was the limit in terms of job progression. So I was like, okay, I'm leaving. I got the job, and how I got the job is another testimony in itself. Like everything I give to God, like glory to God. So I was just excited to start my new chapter. That was November 2019.
Okay. Wow. So from there, how did you like that? How did you like that new chapter with the philanthropy?
That is where my mental health is just kidding. So, you know, I'll back up. I would say my mental, and maybe we can get into the mental health journey because it kind of all ties together.
Yeah.
I like my own mental health journey. I've always had a little bit of anxiety and depression, but I think I had my first mental health break in 2019.
Okay.
This was right before I went to do the short-term assignment in DC.
Okay.
I was like in a long-term 4-year relationship with my partner, my ex-partner, and we broke up right before then. And I was devastated, and I like was I crumbled, I broke down. Like I had been putting so much of myself into this relationship that I didn't recognize myself. So when the relationship ended, I didn't know who I was. I was like, what do I do now? At the time, we were long distance. So that was one of the other reasons I was he was in New York and I was in Atlanta. That was one of the other reasons I was trying to get back up there. And then when we ended and the opportunity, like I was presented with the opportunity to go for the summer, the summer detail is what they call it. In DC, I was like, yes, I'm going. It's a fresh start for me. I can like physically move away from Atlanta and just start this next chapter in my life. Mind you, it was a detail. Like it was a 3-month assignment, but I packed up all my stuff. I was like, I have strong faith that God is moving me here. I put all my stuff in storage. I told my roommate, I was like, I'll see you. I'm going to come back and get my stuff. Let me know if you want someone else. I was still paying for my apartment, but I was just like, God is going to open doors for me to stay. Like this move is a permanent move. I am staying in DC. And sure enough, God provided, and I was blessed with the opportunity to work at the philanthropy.
Wow. Yeah. So you had your first real like awareness of depression and, that episode in 2019. But anxiety has been something that you've always fought pretty much all your life.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So then what and you said in your bio earlier, you were laid off in October of 2020. And
no, I wasn't laid off. I quit.
Oh, you quit. That's right. You quit your dream job. What made you quit? Was that the philanthropy job that you quit?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
That was the dream. Listen, anyone who talks to me, like if you know me, if you're a close friend, you know how excited I was to start at the philanthropy, because I'm on fire for health equity and social justice and the social determinants of health, like bridging all of that. So I started in November 2019, and it was going well. It really took me out of my comfort zone. I remember like my first day on the job, they flew me to Chicago and they were like, you want to go to this grantee conference? I was like, yeah, sure. They're like, oh, by the way, you're on the agenda to give the welcome. I was like, wait, what? This is my first day. I'm like pulling my colleagues to the side. I'm like, what are the what do we say normally? Like, what are the talking points? If that was any indication of how crazy, I won't say it was crazy, just how different it was different. For me personally, I had just come from 7 years working in government. Government is very measured, it's very bureaucratic. Like for anything to happen, there are so many hoops and processes that you have to go through. So to go from that to philanthropy or a nonprofit where everything is fast paced, like coming at me so fast, like, wait, we didn't need approval for that. Like just go, move, was a hard transition. And the anxiety was like at an all-time high. I also moved during the winter. So I had spent the whole summer like living it up, going to festivals, hanging out with my friends, doing summer things, doing hot girl summer things. And then, the winter hits and everyone is cold. Like people are just gonna step out. What? Step out in the cold? So, I was living alone. It was cold. Like my job was very stressful at the time. And I was still still dealing with the heartbreak of the previous relationship. So it all started to hit me all at once. And I was just like, I'm just like really sad. I can't get out of bed. I can't eat. I can't sleep. I'm crying all the time. I just didn't recognize. I felt like I had a chemical. I was like, is my brain okay? I would go to work and I couldn't even type an email. Wow. Like I just couldn't function. I was not functioning at all.
Yeah. Wow. And is that what caused you to say, I don't think I'm going to continue on with this. I need to go look at a different path?
Yes. So I'll fast forward. I ended up like when the pandemic hit, it got like to another level, and I just ended up taking 6 weeks of disability leave from work because my anxiety and depression just got so high. During that 6 weeks, I did like intensive therapy, and also went to see a psychiatrist and started taking medication. At the end of the 6 weeks, I went back to the philanthropy and I was like, I can do this, because my therapist had given me all of these tools and resources to really help me cope. And I felt like I could do it. And I got back into it. And then George Floyd happened. And then just different things started happening. But I was like, what? What is going on? I didn't realize how much the external factors were also impacting me. And then the job also, we started moving and shaking, because the Beaumont prides itself in being disruptors. And, we were like, where's our space in the response to the pandemic?
Right.
So we were more busy than we were prior to the pandemic. So I was like, wait, what did I come back to? This is crazy. And the work was awesome. Like, I love all of my colleagues at the philanthropy. They are the most brilliant, talented people ever. Like, to this day, I would go back there. But I love them. They do amazing, awesome work. But at the time, I was just not in a good mental space to work there. And I realized that. And that's when I was like, I need to step away. Like, I'm not really here. I'm really trying, but I'm not functioning. I need to step away and find myself. So, I talked to a lot of people. They're like, wait, what? You don't have a job lined up? Don't quit yet. Don't quit yet. Or, really just try to hang it out for a year, because my year would have been November. And I was like, okay, fine. I can make it to November. But no, I could not make it to November. So in October 2020, I was like, one of my former, coworkers, who's now a friend, I consider a friend, Kofi, we talked about it for like months, at least a month. And I was like, on our lunch breaks, we would have he was like my therapist. I always lift him up. I'm like, Kofi, God bless you. Because he would help me not strategize, but just think through. He's like, do you really want to quit? Is this something, that you'll feel better over time? Or, are you sure? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? And I was afraid of my reputation. I was afraid of being unemployed. Then I felt guilty because I'm like, we're in a pandemic. People don't have jobs. And here I am quitting willingly.
Right.
And then I was ashamed because I'm Nigerian and I need to be a doctor, engineer, or a lawyer to be successful. And I had just left CDC. So it's like my family couldn't even brag about me working at CDC. Now they're like, oh, she's at some philanthropy. She's at a philanthropy, but oh wait, now she's unemployed. Then I was like, where will I go in the public health space? So
Wow, that's so much pressure. And you had alluded to it in your bio, when you're living for everyone else and their thoughts
Right.
and their judgments and what they want you to do, that is like a tremendous amount of pressure, and dissatisfaction, especially if it's not what your heart wants, or
Right.
it's not feeding you or feeding your soul the way you need it to. That, yeah, and I think that is the majority of people's problem, is that, is the fear. I have to keep this job, I have to stay on this path, this is security, this is what people want. And in the Indian culture, it's the same thing. If you're not a doctor, then you're pretty much nothing. And it's that like box that people get put into, whether it's by our family, our culture, our friends, society, uh,
Right.
the income that we're getting.
Right.
It's like a form of, it's like a form of
Oppression.
slavery. Yeah, it really
Yes,
is.
I
It's like,
understand
yeah,
oppression.
it's crazy. And I say it to people all the time: don't be a slave to all of these things. It's the same thing with the opioid problem. It's being a slave to your addictions. It's
Right.
and that's how people get caught up, is they either they feel they need something, so then they have to do this thing to continue to get that thing that they feel they need, or they
Right.
feel like they're not going to be seen the same or loved the same or looked at the same if they don't do it this way. It takes a
Right.
lot of bravery to break out of that and say, no, I need to
Right.
focus on me, because whatever is happening right now is not good for me, and
Right.
you've
Right.
felt it in your own mental health, that it wasn't good for you. Yeah. And to
Yeah.
say it and stop it and do what is best for you is very, very brave. Yeah. So I definitely
Um,
admire you for that, because not a lot of people can do that. People go decades unhappy,
right.
so unhappy, you know,
Right.
so many
Yeah.
reasons. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. But I always say I'm not brave. I just have incredible faith.
Yeah.
I feel like God, God was calling me like, listen, my daughter, yes, you do need to rest.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have your back. So I did a post about, I think a video about it, like called Preparation,
Yeah.
where everyone's like, and I outline how I quit and like the tools and resources that I had to quit.
Yeah.
The first being confirmation from God that everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I keep like, I'm really blurry, but
Yeah, it goes in and out of blurriness. Yeah. I
yeah.
saw that too, but I figured it was just anytime you move, the camera does that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think, like you said, people are addicted to their drug or opioid. I think that is true, but I also think that it's a case, and I am proudly Christian. So, if I talk about a lot about God, excuse me, but
That's
I
really
think,
great. That was one of my next questions.
yeah, I think that when you recognize who you are in God's eyes, right?
Yeah.
Then that's when you're able to break free of your addiction, of your mental health crisis, of whatever. Like I got to that point, I would say, after my first initial mental health breakdown, I was like on fire for God. And I was like, yes, I know who I am. And that's how I describe myself. The first thing I am is I'm a daughter, child of God, like I'm a child of God because I recognize who I am in his image. I was created in his image. And then everything else just falls to the wayside. So like I'm stronger than my depression. I'm stronger than my anxiety. I have, depression and anxiety from time to time, but that is not who I am. Same with anyone suffering from an addiction. They are stronger than their addiction. It's just a bout that they're going through right now. And, God is going in due time. Sometimes as family members or loved ones, we get frustrated. Like, why can't you break this? But in due time, they're going to come out of it. And the community around them just has to keep loving on them, keep supporting them. Don't get frustrated. Keep praying for them, and they'll come out of it.
That's so good. Where do you think you got your, when were you first introduced to God and your faith? Did that come from family, or did it come from MHS, or
Mm-hmm.
later in life?
Oh, it came from definitely family and MHS. But my mom and my dad actually have really strong faith. I have seen my mom battle some, go through some of the worst battles, and her faith remains steadfast. And I'm like, I want to be like you. So, and then I've also been blessed and fortunate to be surrounded by a lot of faith-filled individuals from every place I've ever lived. I've just met like brothers and sisters in Christ. Yeah. So that like keeps me going and motivated.
That's so good. Yeah. It's funny because faith for me is very, very big too. I think honestly, everybody needs a relationship with God, because I think that's like the foundation. I grew up Muslim. So, and I was a really devout Muslim, very devout. I mean, I prayed 5 times a day. I wanted to be just like my mom, The only thing I didn't do was like cover with the hijab and stuff. But going to Milton Hershey was such a culture shock there too, because, it was Christian based. So of course, when I was praying in my room, people thought it was so weird and, what the heck is going on? And I was bullied a lot for it. All the way into college, I prayed 5 times a day and everything. And then I had a lot of traumatic things that was happening, and it was all happening then. And then things from the past were just all catching up. And a lot of it just created like a disconnect, almost like a consent for God, for religion, for everything that I had put into it. And, what am I getting back except more trauma and all this trauma my family's going through. So then for like maybe 4 years, 5, 6 years, I was like, I believe in God. I'm not an atheist or anything, but I have no religion. Religion is man-made. And, I'm just going to take a break from you, God,
Yeah.
Well, so like, yeah. So then, I met my husband, he was my boyfriend at that time. We met in Florida. And, he was Christian, but we didn't really talk about it much or anything. And then, we moved in together to California, and we got married and everything. And even for the wedding, I was like, no preacher or anything like that, make this non-denominational, and his mom, very devout Christian, strong Christian. She even wrote a book about her testimony and her
wow.
God. Yeah. And never once did she judge me for being Muslim. Never once did she even question it. Even if we were to bring it up, it was never to like question me or to like try to bring me over to her side.
Yep.
Chris never did, ever. He even invited me to church a couple times, and I started going with him, and I told him, just as long as these people don't try to convert me, like I've been through that times, and they didn't. And during this whole time though, I was watching Chris, and he just started to get more and more close to God as he got older, had that need. And I was watching him, and I was watching his mom. She had MS. She had cancer 3 times. And still, like you said, she was steadfast and would always just have this like hope, and this peace. And I was always very like, I was always like envious of it. Like, man, I want this peace.
Yes.
Have this peace, like I didn't have this peace, praying as a Muslim, because a lot of it was very fear-based. You need to pray 5 times a day, and if you don't, I couldn't even sleep, it was a lot of anxiety around it. And we had been going to this church for like a year. And during these whole 4 to 6 years that I had, no faith, I would always still pray in my head, like, God, I feel lost. What the heck happened to me? I used to have such a belonging. Now I just feel completely lost. I don't know where to go. I need you to send me a sign or a rope. I'm just in a dark place. And I always get choked up when I say this, but what's so crazy is the pastor at this church for like the whole year, he would always do like the altar call, normal altar call. And one day he was doing this altar call, and he just kept going like 15 minutes. And he's like, I'm not going to stop. If you guys need to go home, that's fine. You guys can go ahead and go home. Don't feel bad, but I'm just going to keep on going. I feel like there's someone in the room right now who's really lost, you know, and you're asking for a rope and you're asking for a sign, and, you know, this is your sign, you know, this is your rope. And he said rope, you know, and I would always say rope. And he had never said that before. And I was like looking at Chris and I'm like, this is so weird. And I was against it, but at the same time, I was just so like moved by him saying this. And like, I was almost like God in my head. When people say like God talked to me, I would always be like, that's weird. But it was weird because God in my head was like, this is your robe, Zahraa, and I'm giving you the sign that you'd been asking for, you know?
Right.
So walked up there. I didn't even check with Chris. I just stood up and walked up. And, you know, I accepted Christ, and it was so unbelievable. Yeah. And I knew in my head, I was like, this isn't like magic, you know, I know this is going to be such a still a work ahead of me, you know, to learn and maintain this. But obviously God is sending me a sign and I need to listen, you know?
Right.
I went and sat back down with Chris. He was just looking at me like he was in disbelief, you know, that this was even happening. But a lot of it was seeing his level of faith and his peace that I had always wanted, you know? And when it happened, and then after the fact, now I'm like, it's a constant work in progress, you know?
Right.
Still now, I watch him. He does his daily devotions. He constantly reads out of the Bible. When we have stress in our lives and in our business, I'm the one that's like, oh, I'm so scared. Fear.
Right.
It's like, we just got to pray about it, babe. You know, God.
That's me.
Yeah. I'm like, I literally find a little bit of peace through his peace. It's
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So to hear you say that reminds me so much of him and my mom-in-law, and it constantly feeds me hope, you know, because to not still have that at that level, you still feel this like need for more peace, but to see it in other people, it's like keeps feeding you that hope that you need, you know?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. You have a testimony. Where's your book?
Yeah. One day.
Yeah. You know what I say? I agree with you. I don't believe in religion because and I know some, you know, it's very controversial, but I also consider I'm a Christian, but I'm like non-denominational.
Yeah.
Because you know, religion was used to justify slavery. You know, religion has been used to justify some of the most heinous acts in society. So I do not believe in religion. I also celebrate all of my friends and loved ones who practice other faiths. Because, you know, I believe, you know, whatever higher, I don't want to convert, you know, I don't want to push it too much. But if you are, you know, praying to, there's a higher being, you know, we are all of the same understanding that there is a higher being. So I, you know, celebrate my loved ones of different faiths. I still will celebrate my love for God. But I also don't like knock them down for their own faith. And I also don't believe, like, it gets like, let me not get into like LGBTQ, you know, because religion will have you, you know, this person, you know, oh my goodness.
Your own, and
that's bad. Abortion is bad. You know, religion is what created the insurrection, what's it called? Insurrection at the White House, you know, like people feeling like the past president was the savior that was coming to save America. So I celebrate love and having a personal relationship with Christ. So, you know, I will be honest, I'm not like in the Bible every single day. You know, sometimes I miss a few days, or, you know, I don't like do my devotionals, you know, every single day. But for me, I feel like God knows your heart, God knows your spirit. And for me, I think praise and worship is what, like, I'm definitely what I love my pastor. I love Union Church, Pastor Stephen Chandler. I am listening to praise. I'm filling my home with worship music, filling my home with praise music. And that is what keeps me grounded.
Yeah.
Because no one can come say anything negative to me. Sometimes I do get like low.
Yeah.
But for the past 4 months, I have been on the most incredible high, because like my spirit is just filled with God, and I am professing it loud, and boldly, at work, on LinkedIn, on my social media, like everywhere that I can. And then people are like, wow, like, how can you be so calm in this situation? And I'm just like, oh, it's God. It's God.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible. It really is incredible that, and that's what Chris always tells me. He's like, just keep asking God for peace, just keep asking him for peace and it's going to come. And I'm like, yeah, and there is no handbook. There's no playbook of being the best Christian, like it really is, like you said, your personal relationship. God sees what's in your heart, not just all the little tasks that you're doing, he sees what's in your heart, what you need, what you talk to him about,
Right. Yeah. It's your personal relationship, but it's also you being salt to the earth, right? It's like you being light. So how do you operate in the world? How are you giving back, like the way Jesus gave back and loved even the back? Like he calls the last one, like even the least, I put that in air quotes, of them, like he calls them and he qualifies them. So how do we show and exhibit that love to others? Let's not tear each other down based on our race, based on our religion, based on our sexual orientation, based on whether or not we had an abortion. Like don't let me get started, because I get so frustrated with selective Christianity. Like, he who has the first, what is this phrase? The Bible verse.
And then also the one with the plank in the eye, or
right.
And it's so true.
So don't be all high and mighty that oh my goodness, abortion is bad, so blah blah blah. Let me not get started, because then people will hear how I really feel. I feel like we are meant to have a personal relationship with God, whoever, higher being. And we're also meant to love each other unconditionally, and the world would be a much better place.
Much better place. Yeah. It's incredible, the things that we've made our own to hate and judge and create status on. It's weird, because we were created to fellowship and work together. That's when humans thrive the most, when together. And then that's when humanity starts to like fall apart, is when people start to work against each other. It's like a natural path. I don't know why people become against it after a while. It's the way of the world. And that's what it is. I think people become too worldly, and they forget about, the one thing we should be focused on, and it's not anything of this world,
Right. We need a separate podcast, like Milt's, like faith-filled Milts. I don't know what.
That would actually be really good, because I think a lot of Milts need something. They need a foundation. I talk a lot about Milts who have graduated and have gone back into the trauma and the poverty and the troubles that they came from before MHS, and then there's suicide, drug addiction, dying from those things, violence, all this stuff that plagues a lot of Milts. And so if they were to have, Angie and I did like a webinar for mental health. If they were to have more mental health resources, more mental health networking, and now more spiritual health networking and spiritual health information, those are the two things that would create that foundation for them after graduation,
Right. And also,
your next thing.
Oh yeah, well, I want to do something for Mental Health Month next month. So let me know if you want to partner on anything. I would love to.
Anything. We'll definitely talk about it and do something. I'm all about action, so I love that. I'll start to brainstorm something. See if Angie wants to come in on it too.
Yeah, and Alfonso to get the male perspective.
Yes. He was on the last one. Yeah, he was on the last one. Yep.
Okay.
And,
wait, is it a series?
It was a series. It was like a webinar, and it had like four episodes.
You guys missed me.
Yeah, I know. We even started a mental health group. It was Milt Talk Mental Health on Facebook.
What happened to that?
It's still there. Yeah, it's still there. Angie is managing it.
What?
It's just a good group, for Milts to be able to talk just mental health. I'm gonna invite you to it right now. But it's so good. It's so good. So for next month, we should absolutely do Johnny Alexander was the other male panelist on that. Yeah.
Is Johnny a therapist as well?
Yeah, he's in the industry. I think he's licensed counselor now.
Okay.
I don't know how far licensed he is, but yes. Yep, he was a counselor. Yeah.
Okay, I can bring the perspective from an advocate because I'm not a counselor.
Yeah.
So I'll bring
like the host. Yep.
Yeah.
We need more of it because Milts aren't talking about it enough. The rate of suicide, the rate of Milt suicide it's scary. It breaks my heart. It's way too much. It really is too much. Yeah. So
do you think we could talk with the administration? Like maybe we could do something, because is this Milt's Talk Mental Health an alumni group, mostly alumni?
Yeah. Okay. And I think Angie is so good at what she does. It is incredible. Like listening to her blew my mind. And her and I were in the same student home. Of course, she was younger than me. And then to hear her now as an adult, like and I've been in therapy. I've had several different therapists as a young person and as an adult. And I can say out of all maybe 15 that I've had, 2 I've ever said, wow, this person is so knowledgeable and so good. And Angie was one of them. And another therapist that I had. Yeah. So for me to say that is like big, because I've seen so many of great calibers too, but they're like, for a therapist to have that thing, it's hard, and she has that thing. It's crazy. And so I told her, you need to start talking to the school, because the school.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
They need to have her.
Yes. And I think she is. I think she's in the works of doing something with them. Yeah. I don't know how far they went with it, but we can absolutely continue to speak with them and speak with the administration to get something more solidified and in place for current students and for the
alum.
Yes.
And alum.
Yes.
I feel like they've invited Alfonso to speak multiple times.
Yeah, good.
But if we could maybe he even has something planned for them. He's busy. He's booked and busy.
Yeah, he's on the podcast, I think, in May at some point. I forget the date, but I'm gonna interview him on the podcast.
Oh, nice. Yeah. If we could get like the school to do a webinar or an assembly that features do the same panel type presentation that you all did with a series for Mental Health Month.
Yes.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And Troy Scott. Do you know Troy Scott?
I do. Yeah.
Like he got them to light up the dome green, was it?
I didn't know that.
He got them to light up the dome in honor of Mental Health Awareness.
Wow. That's great.
So I feel like with all the connections that we have, Troy Scott is another male, right?
Yeah.
We would have 3 men: Johnny, Troy, Alfonso, and you, Angie, and I.
Yes.
Gives a balanced perspective.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have all those episodes recorded, so I'll send them to you so you can hear all the stuff we talked about, because so much of it was so good. It was so a lot of it was like the upbringing of Milton Hershey and how that upbringing translates into who we are now as an adults. We talked about toxic relationships, self-worth, so many good things. And I think the key is the ongoingness of it, just a constant resource, a constant thing for alumni to be able to come back to.
Well, it could be like Milt Talk Mental Health Mondays. Every Monday, we're coming out with a new topic featuring one of us. Maybe there's a guest like speaker, or someone sharing their mental health journey who went through who went to the Milt. So it's bringing in fresh perspectives, but keeping the conversation going. Even if it, like every Monday might be too much, we could do every other Monday. But I feel like Monday is a day that there aren't a lot of things going on. And it's like
that would be so good. I say we do it. We'll start talking about it more and brainstorming and putting something together, like a good action plan. Yay. So let's go back to you now. So you decided.
Wait, hold on. Where were we in the interview?
I know we went way left, but it was still so good because people need to hear all of this. So we went to. You were at the philanthropy business or the nonprofit, and then you decided, I think I need to take time away. I'm going to quit my dream job, and that was October of 2020. Okay. So then you had like 4 months, you said, of like that stillness, time of reflection.
Yeah.
Is that when you started to come up with the ideas for your business?
Well, I've had the ideas for a while. Well, no, like really flesh them out. Yeah. I say 4 months, and in my YouTube video preparation, I talk about how the first month, literally all I did was stay in my bed and cry. Because I was still adjusting with where I was in life. Like, oh crap, I just quit my job. I don't have anything lined up. What am I gonna do with my life? And then God told me to get up. It was like, get up, Then I started doing the things that I was trying to figure out, like, who is Abbey? Because my therapist would ask me that in our session. She'd be like, journal, like, what do you like to do? And I'm like, I don't remember what I like to do. I couldn't answer that. So I had to rediscover who I was. And I was like, okay, I like to run. I like to hike. I remember when I lived in Atlanta, one of my close friends, Alia, and you two would get along really well. We would go on a different hike every weekend together. We were like exploring all of Atlanta together. I miss her so much. So I would just hike. And then I would run, and then I started playing gospel music. I started, reconnecting to and rebuilding my relationship with God. I was like visiting my sisters a lot more. I was hanging out more with friends. I started dating, and I was like, oh, okay, this is fun. This is interesting. Pandemic dating. That's another podcast. Very interesting. Yeah. I since now I'm currently in a relationship. I met my partner Reggie like a month ago, and he is awesome. But yeah, the stories that I have for you before I met Reggie are hilarious. So I just eventually got back to myself, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna like pursue this business. So that's when I bought the domain. I had the domain like www.livewithoutapologies for 5 years. I had the domain. I had just never built out a website. So I was like, let me apply for my business license. Let me apply for my tax ID. And then I got connected. I praise God for Milts because I got connected. Well, I used to date Brian DeJesus back in high school, and we reconnected. And we reconnected over Facebook, and he's like, how's life? I'm telling him everything that's going on. I'm like, I just quit my job. I'm thinking of starting this business. And he was like, he's encouraging me. He's motivating me. Then he's like, I want to come visit. Like, I need a break from New Hampshire. I'm going to come down. I was like, oh, you're coming for real? And he was like, yeah, I'll be there. I was like, wait, what? You're coming for real? And he really came. And then he was like, what's your idea? Where's your logo? What do you have going on? And I was like, oh, well, this is my logo. And he was like, I'm going to put it on a shirt for you. I was like, what? So he's like, yeah, Jason. DeJesus,
brother,
has this print, my brothers, this is what they do. We're gonna let me surprise you. I'm gonna bring it in a shirt. So it started. I want to create a meme like how it started, how it's going. It started as living unapologetically. And that's the shirt that Brian brought for me when he came down to visit.
Yeah.
And I was like amazed. I was like, it looks so good. And then I was like, we need to fix it though. So we shortened it to Live. And then I was like, Brian, for me, I'm a very tangible, I'm almost about to cry. Like, I'm a tangible visual person.
Yeah.
And when Brian brought the shirt, then I was like, this is real.
Yeah.
Like, I can actually do this. So Brian was like, let's make it happen. Put in your first order. So I ordered 100 shirts from Jason.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I just want to make $1,000. Like, I want to see if the concept is even real. Yeah. And it has taken off. Wow. Like, it has taken off. A lot of people are resonating with the message. And it's not even about me, because I asked everyone who wears the shirt to send me a photo and to tell me how you're living your life unapologetically. Like, it's truly a lifestyle brand. Yeah. And like, I just want everyone to take their power back. I just want everyone to live their lives the way that they want to live. Yeah. And I get choked up, like, when I get the stories back. Some people are like, wow, Abby, like, I'm going to share this with you. I have never shared this with anyone yet. You know, it's giving people their voice. Yeah. And then my brand is just a platform for you to share your voice. And then I'm giving you courage to live out your life the way that you want to live out your life. Yeah. But I thank God every day for Brian and Jason, just every Milt who's ever encouraged me. Even my friends here, like Caitlin, Keisha, Lethea, Crystal, Niani, Angela, like I have a whole Milt network. Yeah. And also, my friends outside of the Milt, they're like, what is the Milt? Outside, I to initially market it, I gave like 30 of my closest friends, I wrote them an email and I was like, guys, I'm doing something. Like, I have this business idea. I've had it for 5 years. I'm going to send you all a free shirt. Yeah. And because I love you all, thank you. Because they had all supported me through the 8 months of depression, suicidality. That's a whole nother issue. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm celebrating life. I appreciate and I love you all so much. I'm sending you all a free shirt. Here are the colors. Let me know what color you want. The only thing I ask is, if you feel comfortable, send me a picture and send me how you are living your life unapologetically. So that's how I started my marketing. It was free Yeah. And some people were like, you're crazy. You just paid for all those shirts and you're giving away 30 of them. And I was like, you don't trust, I'm going to sit back and let God work, trust me. Yes. So then my friends started sending their stories and they are so they're powerful stories. So I started posting them on social media and everyone is like, wow, like, I want a shirt. Like, wait. And I'm like, oh, you're moving too quick. Like, I don't have my website up yet. I am still building this from the ground up. I literally just launched this business in January 2021. Yeah. So, I'm blown away. And then I was getting more active on social media. And if people know me, they know that I'm a quiet person. Like, I'm never on social media. Yeah. And if you go back and scroll through my personal page, you will see that in 2019, I probably posted maybe 10 times. Wow. And in 2020, I probably posted maybe 10 times. Yeah. But in 2021, Abby's posting every day. So people are like, are you okay? Because I posted about my mental health journey at the start of the business. Yeah. So I think people were like, wow, is she okay? Like, she's always posting. Yeah. I'm just like, oh yes, there's a method to my madness. Yeah, right. I'm marketing, I'm promoting my business, I'm networking, I'm making connections. So it's just been an awesome journey thus far. I'm excited to see where it goes. I have not yet officially launched. I had planned to launch on my birthday, but I think you followed my social media drama about what happened with that. So now I've reopened pre-orders through April, the end of April.
Yeah. And it's the fact that you took those shirts and said 30 of these I'm going to give out free to all of my friends and people who have supported me in exchange for some marketing if they feel comfortable is actually the smartest thing an entrepreneur can do. I mean, every entrepreneur has given out free product, free samples, free something in exchange for word of mouth, someone just trying it to see if they like it, to then get a repeat customer. It is a perfect 101 approach to getting your stuff out there. So anyone who says, you're crazy, blah, 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 they just don't understand entrepreneurship and what it takes. Sometimes you got to give to receive, and that is one of the best things that you could have done. And also for it to be such a great marketing way to get more branding done for you. And who doesn't really want to share their story once they feel comfortable enough to, that is to create that platform and then that comfortability to be able to say, hey, here's what I've done, here's my story. And I would love it if you would share your story to then help the next person.
Right. And the stories have been so rich and diverse. Well, one thing I'll say is that my friends are just too awesome. Some people refused the free shirt. They were like, how much are the shirts? I will send you, I'm going to pay for my shirt. I'm like, no, you don't have to, but if you really want to,
that's
great. This is how much they are. But the stories have been so diverse. I ask people to share how you live your life unapologetically in any area or aspect of your life. It can be mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, relationally, spiritually. So I've received a lot of very diverse stories. One of my friends from college, I ran track with her, and she just posted about, how she was a new mom and the struggles that she had with postpartum depression and becoming a new mom.
Wow.
I've had a lot of my fellow, immigrant American friends talk about the pressures that we have on our lives culturally, and how we are no longer apologizing for, doing what we want to do. We're doing it in a respectful way.
Yes.
I also had to clarify my message, because when you hear live without apologies, for some people in the older generation, they're like, hold on, you're walking around living without apologies. You're being reckless. You are, not apologizing if you offend anyone. I'm like, no. Like, my brand is all about positivity. We promote love, never hate. Living unapologetically is about living fearless. It's about walking in faith. It's about living, your authentic life. You're living in your authentic self. If I do offend someone, or if, I'm never doing anything offending you intentionally. And if I do offend you, I will apologize. I'm not going to be sticking by my brand, live without apologies. If I do offend you, I will apologize.
Right.
But I am viewing live without apologies as living fearless.
Yes.
So that's the distinction when I get clarifying questions.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is the overall vision for this business?
So I have a grand vision. The t-shirts are just my first way of monetizing the brand, right? I would love to be a life coach. I am great at active listening, and I think I'm also great at giving advice. I would love to write a book one day. I will be working on that very soon. I already put it in the atmosphere that it's coming out in 2022. So I need to get ready. I would love to have a consulting business to help organizations address, I think my niche would be working with organizations to address the mental health needs of their workforce.
Wow.
I would also love to do more speaking engagements. I think I told you I had a vision from God, or I put it out there, affirmation, manifestation, that I'm going to speak on 5 podcasts this year.
Yes.
You are my number 2. So
awesome.
Whoever is out there listening, if you have connections, I need to make it to lucky number 5. I would also like to be on a national television program this year. And I could be on a local news network. That would still count. I could be on CNN. That would be great. I could be on, what's my show? Hada and Jenna. The Today Show. Yeah, they have their own special hour. Or Tamron Hall. I'm calling people out. Ellen, invite me. So I have a grand vision to like expand the brand. I'm just starting with the t-shirts.
That's
to start small.
And that's totally okay. And it's the key is you just keep building that brand, and then everything that falls under that brand is of that caliber and of that quality. People recognize the brand and they like it, then they will like everything that goes underneath it, because they like you, they like your brand. Wow, that's so good. And it's awesome that you have all these very specific, clear vision goals. Like this, that's so like with such specificity that's so important to be very clear down to the date and the description of your vision and your goals.
God says, pray specific prayers. So
do you think you always knew you were going to be an entrepreneur, or do you think you decided that later in life?
I definitely decided it later in life. I didn't realize, when I reflect on it, I learned it from my dad. So my dad is like entrepreneur extraordinaire.
Wow.
And he would always tell us like, don't sleep the day away. Like he worked so hard when we were younger. He's a chef by training. So he had his own catering business. And then he got a food truck. So he would cater a lot, and he would, make us work on his food truck. And we were so angry. We were like, why are we working on your food truck? Like, we want to go play, but he would be like, no, come with me. Like who's on the fryer? Who's taking orders? Who's counting money? Y'all, can you help me design my business card? And we'd be like, why are we doing all of this? In hindsight, that is all entrepreneurship. But I didn't realize what he was teaching us. We just thought that it was, we were being punished. Or, why is he using us again?
And it's funny because now that you're on your entrepreneurial journey, all that he's taught you that was somewhere in your subconscious, and you're going to see all these other little things are going to start coming out that you didn't even know you knew from him, that you can start to be able to implement in your business. And that's so crucial that you had that opportunity to have learned so many different things that you knew, or now you're gonna know that you didn't know you knew, because a lot of times people say you're either born an entrepreneur or you're not. But a lot of it is in your blood. A lot of it is what you've seen growing up, whether you could or not. Wow, that's so good. Is he excited about this journey for you, or what was his thoughts on it when you told him?
He's excited. He's excited now that he understands the concept.
But at first there was like a little bit of fear, like, what, you're gonna leave this for that?
Right. Well, I'm not a full-time, I guess I'm a full-time entrepreneur, but I also have a full-time day job. I work, I don't want to say where I work, but I work for the government. Let them not come get me. I'm on my lunch break.
How funny. And that helps. That to have that opportunity is very helpful, because it kind of alleviates a lot of the monetary stress that comes with gotta make money, but it could also be a double-edged sword. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes it could be like that. I call it your cow, like it constantly gives you milk, so, and then when you're ready to finally say, you know what, I'm going to go all in, risk it all, you got to kill the cow, no more milk, and then boom, all the milk that you get is now from this entrepreneurial journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have a vision. I have a timeline and a vision for that too.
Yeah. Now take full advantage of being able to have this while you're building this, because that's a big advantage. Yeah. That's so good. Okay, so let me see what other question I want to ask you. I have so many, it's ridiculous. The self-development one, that's the one I really wanted to get to. What type of self-development are you doing, and how often are you doing it?
Self-development.
And self-care.
Self-development. Self-care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a long list of self-care things. Mostly like I have a schedule, like a very detailed schedule that I try to stick by. Like I get up, I pray, I listen to my worship music, I work out when I can, because I need those turtle abs and big booty, just kidding, little booty. I go to work, work on my business on my lunch break. I am still hanging out with friends and family. I am doing the activities that I love to do, like I mentioned before, like hiking. Now that, outside is open and the streets are calling our name, I'm traveling. I just came back from Costa Rica. I, have all these trips planned in the future. I'm like, ooh, festivals might be a thing. Concerts might be a thing again. I can go to some games, So I like to do all of that. I like to just be light, airy, have fun. One of my loves is Issa Rae. So I feel like Issa Rae, like her portrayal of Issa on Insecure is my real life. And also when I first was introduced to her from The Awkward Black Girl, I'm just like, wow, someone made a show about me. Because if you like, people who knew me in high school probably knew me as Abbey the athlete, Abbey the track star, So I'm just like, guys, like I am multidimensional. Like, yes, I'm fast. Like, yes, I can run fast. I was in the Spartan Hall of Fame for both track and field hockey. I'm athletic. But I also, sometimes I like to downplay that. I'm just like, no, like I'm beauty, brains, whatever, and an athlete. Because, I like to stress that I'm multidimensional.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, I'm doing a lot of things for self-care and journaling, meditation. Also very important. And then now, with my healthy relationship, I'm just in a very good place. But what I like to say is that I'm not glamorizing this moment. Because I understand that life is cyclical, right? And it comes back, like there will be highs, there will be lows. And what I've learned now is the coping mechanisms that I can implement to help me get through those lows. So I'm well aware that, my life is not going to be quote unquote perfect. I'm going to have challenges. I've had a lot of challenges since I started my business and since I've been on this high. But I've learned to cope with that. Like, I always do a mental reset every morning. Just like, okay, I'm going to start the day. I'm going to speak life over the day. I'm going to start the day with positivity. Whatever thing happened yesterday that like made me stressed, made me anxious, like I'm leaving that behind with yesterday and I'm starting today afresh. So that's the mindset that I'm trying to move and operate and walk in.
Absolutely. Yes, that's so good because yesterday is baggage, every day is a new day. That is so good. I'm going to mentally keep that note in my own head. A lot of times we could still be so caught up on yesterday, 2 years ago, 20 years ago, and we need to just let it go. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Let it go.
Yes.
Let it go. That's Issa coming out. I don't rap like Issa. I sing songs with the same word.
Yes, there you go. So what 2 pieces of advice do you think you would give someone else starting their entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, I would say the first advice is to just start. Like I mentioned in my bio, I had perfection paralysis for 5 years. So imagine, I don't want to go back in the past, but imagine if I would have started 5 years ago, like where I could have been now. Just start, even if you feel like you're not ready to start, even if you feel like you still need to learn. Like, I'm learning so much, networking and connecting with people. I'm just like in a student mode, and it's great to be in the student mode, to be learning, to be connecting. There's a lot I don't know. I'm also giving myself grace for the things that I don't know, and for the timelines that I set up for myself that are just my arbitrary timelines. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. Like, for example, I wanted to launch my business, officially launch it on my birthday. I missed that. And I was beating myself up. And then my friend was like, girl, like, look at all that you've accomplished since January. And you're crying because you can't, open your website in April. I was like, okay, fine. Let me reflect. Let me give myself grace. And, let me move forward and just take this as a lesson learned. The other thing I would say is trust your gut. Like, I have had so many people say, have you thought about this? Maybe you should do it this way. Are you coming out with a different color? Are you going to do this? Everyone will have an idea for your business, how you should operate, what you should do, and sometimes there'll be great ideas. You're like, wow, that's very insightful. I never thought about that. Other times, I think it just shows how excited people are for you. So I take it as like, okay, you're excited with me. I'm taking you on this journey with me. But if it doesn't fit your vision, don't allow it to influence you. Like, don't get stressed out by it. Is what I would say.
Yes, absolutely. Trusting yourself is key. It's so key. Yeah. Trusting yourself to take risks, trusting yourself to fail and get back up again. It's all key. It's that feeling of self-worth and I can come out of this no matter what. Even if the outcome is not what I planned, I know I trust myself enough that I've learned, and then I'm going to go and make it better. So good. And giving yourself grace. I think we could be so hard on ourselves, and it really, God gives us grace, so much grace. Most of the time we're not even worthy of it, or like a lot of times that's what I tell myself. God, I don't even know how you keep giving me grace, because I know I don't deserve it, but he just keeps on giving it to us. And it teaches us that we are deserving of it. Truly, we are worthy of it. So we have to believe in that our own selves. It's like having your self-compassion. You got to love yourself no matter how much of the things about yourself you don't like. You got to feel compassionate towards yourself and give yourself grace for that. So that's so good. How do you think your upbringing at MHS impacted you now as a working adult?
As a working adult, that's a good question. I think it definitely impacted my love and passion for service. So I'm all about service and helping others and giving back and community. I think those are like the themes that I learned the most from MHS, not only from our founder, Catherine, I'll say Catherine first, Catherine and Milton Hershey, but also from everyone who worked at the school, the teachers, the supports, the house parents, the support system that we had. I call out the Alessis because they were like family to me. I call out Gal because track was so instrumental in my life. Gal was a coach. We butted heads a little bit when I first started my freshman year, but we got really, really close. And I'm calling him out now because I was so embarrassed. I was inducted into the Spartan Hall of Fame. And I was so nervous because I was inducted for both sports, track and field hockey. I gave a whole speech and didn't even mention Gal, my coach, my head coach. I'm thanking all these other coaches. Gal comes up to me. He's like, that was a great speech. What happened? I was like, wait, what? He was like, I just want you to go back and listen to it. So I went back and listened to it. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't even thank you, Gal. I'm so sorry. So if he is listening to this, I am publicly thanking you.
Yeah.
For everything that, he instilled in me. I think we worked great together as like coach athlete. And he taught me a lot about discipline, because I was high and mighty. My freshman year, Candace and Ashley were like the bomb. Yeah. And I was like, ooh, I'm close to Candace. I'm the, I'm the next big thing. And I had my head was like a balloon. Yeah. And Gal brought me back to earth. Yeah. And he was like, you need to humble yourself. You still have to work just as hard. Gal and Smitty. Smitty helped me run my fastest time in high school. I remember he bribed me with some food, with like some Chinese food after the race. So I was just like, you guys are like, I really appreciate them. I don't say it enough. I feel like sometimes, we don't say it enough, the people that really impacted us at the school. Yeah. But definitely my coaches, and there are more coaches, but like the three main ones were Gal, Smitty, and the LSCs. Were very instrumental to developing me as a woman.
Yes, absolutely. So second to last question, what's your overall vision for your legacy and your future generations?
Vision for my legacy, I mental health advocate is how I describe myself. So definitely promoting mental health and wellness. I want to be associated, like if you hear mental health and wellness, you hear the Live Without Apologies brand, associated with lifting that topic area and issue area up, and being a bridge and a connector for organizations and the community to come up with solutions. And also what was the other question? My other vision?
Yeah, your vision for your legacy and your future generations.
Oh, future generations, that everyone would grow up with this mindset of like, I am not relinquishing my power to society. I'm not relinquishing my power to the world. I am my own person, and I choose how I want to live my life in a healthy way, right? Yeah. Healthy meaning, how do you show up as the best version of yourself? And that can be in every area or aspect of your life. How do you show up spiritually, financially, relationally, emotionally, physically? How do you show up as the best version of yourself? Yeah. That is you living unapologetically in a healthy way. Yeah. And, taking like no holds bar. Like, the sky is the limit for anyone to do anything. That's the legacy for future generations. I also want to normalize what it means to be mentally healthy. I want to destigmatize, mental health, and take away the mystery, take away the shame, take away the guilt. I want it, like how we're having this natural conversation is how I want people to be able to speak about mental health. Right. So I want to develop more partnerships with like on the national level. I also want to develop more partnerships on the local level. Yeah. Because I think these are important conversations. And I always say that this is urgent. I will stress urgent business. Where the mind goes, the body goes. Yeah. You can change, you can be having the worst day, but if your mindset is against that, then you don't see it as a bad day. You shift your mindset and you shift everything else in your life. I think that it's the most important thing that anyone can do for their health beyond, other types of strategies. I think we all need to focus and get our minds right first.
Yes, that is so key. If there's anything I want to pass down to my daughter is you control your thoughts, and also is to give her a strong sense of self-worth. Those are the two main things I just pray. And of course, faith, a strong, unwavering faith. Those are like the three things I just hope and pray to pass on to her. Mindset is so crucial.
Yeah.
You hit it right on the head.
Yeah, there's a quote that, and I'm gonna butcher it. It's there. I'm missing the middle part, but it's like, your thoughts become your thoughts become something, and that thing becomes action.
Yeah.
I will find that quote.
I think I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that really resonated.
Somewhere in a meme.
Yeah.
I have so many of those in my phone saved.
Me too. I have so many memes saved on my Instagram.
Yes. Yeah. So last question before I let you go. What does being a Milt mean to you?
Oh, I love being a Milt. What does it mean to me? It just means, I forget who used to, I don't know who was over, like alumni, or I forget his name now, but when we graduated, he was one of the people that we would contact when we needed to take money from our reserve, if we had money.
Mm-hmm.
And he had in his signature, to whom much is given, much is it expected?
Yeah, I think it's expected. Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I think, if I'm quoting
because my brother has that in his profile on his WhatsApp. That is so crazy.
Oh, what? Yeah. So to me, that's what being a Milt is for me.
Much is expected, or you could say much is required. But I think
much is required.
Much is expected. Yeah. My brother expected. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm just like, we have been given so much, and I am immensely
writing
grateful.
this down because that is such a good quote. Yeah.
We've been given so much, and I just want to pass it. Like if Milton Hershey were alive, I feel like he would be like, give back, give back. So for us, it's like, give back in any way that you can. Operate in your gifts, right? For me, my gift is I'm a mental health advocate. So that's the way I'm giving back.
Yeah.
Someone else's gift might be that they're a writer, they're a musician, they are an actor. How can we give back to the community and the community where we find ourselves in, right? Because then we are all just being shining lights in the world.
Yes.
And we are connected by Milts who operate with this mindset that I have been given so much, so I'm going to give back to the world. I'm going to operate in my gifts in any way that I can.
Yeah.
So that's what being a Milt means to me. It's giving back, it's service.
Yeah.
It is, I want to do, mama and daddy Milt proud.
Yeah.
So, and also all the teachers, I've connected with so many teachers and staff who are just like, it's so awesome to see you and like as an adult. I'm like, yes. Yeah, it's kind of creepy too, because I'm like, oh yeah, but you're also you're also getting older, and it's weird because I still see you as Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, but that's just life. Now you're having a baby. Like now people are having kids, and I'm like, even my classmates, I'm like, wow, you're a mom now,
right?
Yeah.
It is incredible. Life goes faster than we know it. It is crazy to look back and see who you knew as a kid, because a lot of times we get frozen in time,
Right.
We all remember each other at this time in our lives, and then to see this new person is a little bit weird, but it's embracing that too. That's really rewarding. Yeah. That you keep, and that's the beauty of like the Milt Association. And that's why I want to make it stronger and stronger, because when we do embrace like our new selves, and we like work with each other and network with each other and build each other up, it's amazing. It's amazing watching all these Milts and their stories of how they, especially in the younger classmen, how they have stuck together and have done so many different projects together. It's awesome.
Right.
So awesome. And you're seeing more and more and more of that as more Milts are graduating. I think the upperclassmen are learning from. I'm learning, and I graduated in 2002, and I see more Milts from younger classmen doing more together, staying more connected, networking together, and being a stronger association. which is, and that's the key. You know, that's why they create sororities and fraternities. It's to have a strong association and network to benefit each other, you know, and that's what the MHS Alumni Association, that's what I love to see it continue to become.
Yeah, I have to shout out Lauren LeBron from 07 because we just did our first giveaway today. She has Inflection Point Wellness. That is her business, and my Instagram is blowing up, so I can't wait.
Yay! Oh my God! So I have to reach out to her too. See if you can connect us. I'd love to get her on the podcast too.
Okay.
As many entrepreneurial Milts as you know, send them my way. I'm still getting to know more Milts. I know a lot of the older classmen. I'm still getting to know some of the younger classmen. So anybody that you know who would want to be on the podcast, definitely shoot them my way, because the more exposure we can get for them, the better.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So before I let you go, quickly shout out any websites you want people to know, any social media handles you want people to know. Sure. In your episode description, but I definitely want them to hear it from you too.
Oh yeah. Okay. So my website is forthcoming. But you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Live Without Apologies. I'm also on YouTube. I need to fix my link, so Zahraa will have the description.
Yes, okay.
And then I also have a link tree, which will also be in the description, that has links to my previous podcast number 1. Zahraa is podcast number 3. I'm still throwing it out there for podcasts. It's podcast number 2. I'm throwing it out there for podcast 3 through 5. And then you'll also, on my link tree and on my Instagram and Facebook, will see that I am taking pre-orders. I don't know when this episode is going to be released, but I am taking pre-orders through April 30th, through this Friday. Perfect. For the Live Unapologetically t-shirt, which is very blurry right now, but
there you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. So pre-orders for that in the next week.
In the next week.
Okay, perfect.